that I think is a relevant one today, which is higher education funding and the funding crisis, one that is faced by university students and one that is faced by the higher education sector as a whole. So part of what we delve into in the 2021 reports is the fact that a World Bank study conducted revealed that 90% of poor and working class students in South Africa are actually eligible for fee-free education. That means that majority of the students we see walking around at VETs and other institutions cannot afford to be there by the economic power of their families and their parents. And so this creates a huge vacuum where we need the state and the private sector to come in and to find sustainable ways of ensuring that students who may not be able to be there given their economic history and socioeconomic standing are also able to obtain an opportunity to get a higher education. And I think why the issue is so important is the fact that if we look back at our President's State of the Nation address this year, he made it quite clear that the policy of the state is to enable an environment for the private sector to create jobs. And an entry ticket into that market is some sort of qualification, be it a degree and diploma. And so if there are structural issues that are created by the funding crisis that prevent students from getting into higher education institutions, we're already excluding so many young people who come from poor and working class backgrounds from having the opportunity to have upward social mobility through the use of a degree and a qualification. And so if 90% of working and poor class students are eligible for some sort of help from the state or the private sector, we really must be working together in some social compacts to ensure that these students are funded. Part of our report also reveals that a study conducted by NSFAS itself, the institution that is supposed to be getting young people into universities, it revealed that around 89% of households in South Africa actually earn a pre-tax income of less than 350,000 Rand. And that's also the threshold set by NSFAS to choose which students they fund and which ones they don't. And so once again, I think it reiterates the huge poverty problem that we have in South Africa. We cannot look at young people and expect them to just enter the universities without some sort of state assistance. Because the reality is the amount of money in the pockets of South African families is very, very little. And if we don't sort out the funding crisis, we're just going to create an environment where access to institutions of higher learning are excluded, or exclusive rather, to those who come from the means and the financial backgrounds to actually be there. Of course, in the budget speech announced by Minister Enoch Godongwana a week ago, he did mention that around 32.6 billion would be reallocated to NSFAS for first-year students as well as returning students. And while this may be something to applaud, because obviously NSFAS suffers from shortfalls in terms of funding every single year, it doesn't address things like the student debt crisis. Because if it's going to be used to fund more young people who want to get into the NSFAS system and into universities, we also have to ask ourselves, what about the students who were dropped by NSFAS along the way because of the rules and contingencies that come with that bursary? Those students end up being in situations where they owe universities 100,000 Rand, 60,000 Rand. And at the moment at WITS, the threshold is around 10,000 Rand, where if you owe less than 10,000 Rand, you can register. But we have too many students who owe way more than that. And so that also creates a funding crisis that we must look into and find a way to address that. And as you talk about the funding crisis as well, a big thing that must be addressed, and hopefully during the work of SASSFE this year and by, I guess, DHEADS and NSFAS, is the issue of certain postgraduate diplomas and qualifications not being funded. Because at the moment, qualifications such as the PGCE, the postgraduate diploma in accounting, as well as the LLB program offered here at WITS. It's a 2-year program that's required if you want to enter the legal profession. Those degrees aren't really funded by NSFAS. And so if you're going to have students who study the undergrad degrees and then they need to enter their postgrad education period, they don't have funding, it becomes quite a challenge, because you find many students who either just drop